All right. So this is how we like to do things here on Mid-Card Mama. We run it fast and loose. Of course, the loose cannon, Sam Keola, the wrestling connoisseur. I don't know how this is going to show. Is he going to be to the right of me? Is he going to be to the left of me? Who can tell? I can't tell. I don't know. got 2 words for it. Don't know. Anyway, so WrestleMania. We're going to talk about the matches that have been called so far and our predictions of such. So the first match that is listed under night 1. Timeout.
Okay. I have a bottle on the table that I poured. Bring it to me. Yeah. It is not your milk.
You drank my milk.
You drank your milk.
All right. Back recording. So I caught some of that. So it's just gonna be a slight amount of you talking about a bottle of milk. It's gonna be weird. How we like to do things here. All right. So we don't know the order of the cards yet, of course, for WrestleMania nights 1 and 2. One day she's gonna hit you with the steel chair, and I'm gonna laugh about it.
I'm gonna no sell it.
Gonna hit you with that steel chair. You're gonna no sell it. It's gonna be the worst thing.
I'll be like Ming. Death grip through the chair.
Fair.
Mania.
All right. So I'm gonna talk about the order of matches. It doesn't say the specific order yet, but I'll just go with what I'm gonna hope and guess is the order based on what's listed here. So the first match we're going to talk about, which is probably going to be the curtain warmer, I imagine is going to be the New Day, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods, versus AJ Styles and Omos for the WWE Raw Tag Team Championships. Very interesting to see AJ Styles back in a tag team. I think the last time he fought for tag titles was when he was with Jericho.
Probably, yeah. That could you really consider that a tag team?
They went for titles.
I mean, they was together like what, a month?
Yeah, no, I'm not saying they were a great tag team, but I'm saying they challenged for titles, I'm pretty sure. So that's the last time I remember him challenging for tag belts versus singles belts.
Yeah.
So I imagine New Day is going to probably win this with AJ Styles getting geeked out, because AJ Styles has been kind of that kind of heel right now where you're waiting to watch him get geeked. So
I think AJ and them are going to win it. I think they're going to really push this new guy. You know, we're going to see him, you know, this is going to be his first big match.
That's true.
Or everybody. He's just going to obliterate. I don't think AJ's even going to get in the ring until it's time for the pin. I mean, it's going to be fair point. There's Kofi, there's Xavier, and then there's like whatever, almost or whatever they're calling him now.
Yeah, he's like literally 7 foot tall, and you can't teach that.
Yeah, I think he's the biggest guy they've ever had. Maybe second.
Like he is like ridiculously taller than AJ to the point where they need to frame shots differently, because it's just like when they have his head in it, AJ's like from chin up, like.
Yeah.
All right. So the next match we're going to talk about is Cesaro versus Seth Rollins.
I'll be honest, I have not kept up with anything Harley. Like I'll catch a little glimpse here or there of what WWE programming is anymore. But seeing Rollins and Cesaro having a match feud, whatever they're doing now, it's about time. You know, I've for years to see something big done with Cesaro with Rollins. I just feel like their styles will meld really well, and that this could be the match of the weekend. Honestly,
Yeah, I could believe that.
Cesaro do. But yeah, I mean, these two, I feel like whatever they do together will be great. So I think this is one to look forward to. Winner.
And who do you think is going to win? I got Cesaro winning this. I say Cesaro gets his big WrestleMania moment.
If they're going to build him, if this is just a thank you moment, then yeah, it just be a good thought that Cesaro would win finally. You know, he deserves it. He really does.
Definitely. I have to agree. All right, so then the next match we're going to talk about is Bad Bunny with Damian Priest versus The Miz with John Morrison.
Who's in Bad Bunny's corner?
Damian Priest, formerly Punishment Martinez from Ring of Honor.
They really like Priest.
Yeah, they do, which I'm pleased about because I love him.
I'm not sold 100% on Priest yet, honestly. I mean, he's super athletic. I don't feel like he's ever come into his own and found his little niche there yet. This is probably.
I feel like, yeah. Well, I feel like the giving him of the gimmick Archer of Infamy hasn't helped. I think if you just kind of step away from that or ignore it or whatnot, woo! But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously he'll really do something in this matchup. I hate to say it, but I think Bad Bunny's gonna win.
I do too.
Of Priest.
Absolutely. So. I think this is a Bad Bunny win, but more of a Damian Priest push because long-term Damian Priest is going to be with the company. Bad Bunny is just sort of the vehicle I feel they're using to get him to be more popular, to build him up as a superstar, because they're very clearly, for lack of a better word, very, very high on Damian Priest. And I think it's deserved, but I think, like how you said, he just hasn't really found where he's going to fall, what kind of character he's really going to be yet. So I'm hoping that with this push, that's going to just, like, cement his place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think this will be a good moment for him. Inside now. Take him inside.
Are you going inside? You can't have the bubbles. Go.
Pause.
Unpause.
Pause.
All right, so the next match that we're going to talk about is Braun Strowman versus Shane O'Mac.
This should be a really interesting. It's a steel cage.
Yeah, it is a steel cage match.
It should be interesting. I think everybody's a little irritated that once again we're going to get Shane McMahon on WrestleMania, where somebody else more deserved should be there.
Okay, to be fair, I agree that Shane McMahon is unfortunately not a wrestler, but selfishly I love him. And I like this sort of shitty heel gimmick that he has right now of being this sort of condescending jerk to Braun Strowman. And I'm sure this is a way to kind of get people to care about Braun Strowman again. Because, I mean,
so much like
they need somebody to make him popular again.
They screwed Braun up big time. And they
sure did.
In the face, and then heel, and then face, and then it's just got to a point where it was so convoluted, you didn't know whether to care or hate Braun. So it's kind of hate Braun, in regard to him being a heel. But yeah, I think this will be a fun match. We'll see Shane take some crazy bumps. And
definitely.
Do we get this is just a steel cage, it's not a Hell in a Cell or anything, right?
No. So it's just a standard steel cage match. And I definitely also think that Braun is going to win it. I think that Shane's going to come off looking like a jerk. And that's going to hopefully get Braun Strowman much more over than he's been in quite some time.
Like if you can escape and win type steel cage match.
Oh, yeah.
So
that could be a thing also.
Shane's going to win because Braun's going to power slam him through the cage and Shane will hit the floor first.
They're gonna do that again. Then again, it was at a Saudi show the last time they did it. Not everyone watches those, so if they're gonna reuse the finish, they might as well reuse the finish from Saudi show. All right, fair enough.
You heard it here first.
Right. All right, and then the 2 title matches, we're gonna talk about Bobby Lashley with MVP versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship.
Lashley versus McIntyre for the return match.
Okay, I want Drew McIntyre to win.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Drew's going to win because I think this was one. Lashley's gimme match. Gimme title reign.
Yeah.
They've wanted him to become champion just so that he was champion, so they can come back to it. I think it drew over, and for whatever reason, I feel like they think he can't be over unless he has like multiple title reigns.
I think it's also a sort of thank you because they had promised Drew McIntyre this big WrestleMania moment last year, and they couldn't give it to him. Through forces outside of their control, they could not deliver on what was promised for the prince that was promised, And I think definitely that's the big moment that they're going to want for him, is for him to get that win at WrestleMania, hear the crowd pop around him as they celebrate this great victory. And it's unfortunate that it's not going to be against a more hateable opponent because Bobby Lashley in of itself, especially with the Hurt Business and with MVP, they've all been super over.
Yeah.
So I don't think that the crowd reaction or the crowd cheers are going to be quite as strong for Drew McIntyre as they could have been last year. Of course, what happened with the pandemic is not anybody in WWE's fault. And as such, nobody should be punished for it there. But it is unfortunate that Drew McIntyre now, instead of being the person that's going to be remembered by WrestleMania crowds as defeating Brock Lesnar and being the Beast Slayer, right? He's going to beat Bobby Lashley. And Bobby Lashley's probably the most over he's ever been. So it's a rough time, and I feel for him. I think he's going to win, but I don't think he's going to be as popular for winning as he would have been last year.
Yeah. Lashley will have a little bit of heat going in, I think, causing the disruption in Hurt Business with Cedric and Shelton. Of course, with Corbin coming in now, too. I think they'll have Corbin in the corner of Lashley at Mania. There's a possibility McIntyre comes out the loser here. I think if they do, it's really going to hurt McIntyre to have him not win the title.
I agree.
I think it does nothing for Lashley, to be honest. I think the idea was the Lashley-Lesnar match that just fell through. They could keep this feud going on back and forth. But a win for McIntyre with the title here, I think would do that. You can push on and have Lashley challenge again somewhere down the road, middle of the year, SummerSlam, whatever.
Yeah.
Got to build for that Lesnar-Lashley match at next WrestleMania.
All right, hold on. All right, we're back. So the final match that I think is going to, since we're moving on to the final match on, or at least what will hopefully be the final match on night one, Sasha Banks versus Bianca Belair, the singles match for the WWE SmackDown Women's Championship. Now I'm hoping this is going to be it because, of course, as you know, Royal Rumble competitors are promised a main event, so this should be the main event of night one.
True. I'm going to go with Bianca here.
I have to agree with how they've been building up Bianca Belair here and over the last 2 years, year and this year, with her performance in last year's Royal Rumble as well as this year's Royal Rumble. You know, they've really, really shown that she's the EST, for lack of a better word. And I think also they're super high on her because if I am not mistaken, she's technically a homegrown. She doesn't have, I don't think she has any other wrestling experience outside of the WWE. So I think she's one of the few homegrown talents left in WWE that hasn't already had a sort of main event push. And she's definitely out of the newer people that came up from NXT. I think she might be it.
I'm going to say something a little controversial here. I think she has the potential to be a better Sasha than Sasha.
I agree.
You know, the role that they wanted Sasha to fill and everything. I've been let down. I'm not a huge Sasha fan. I know a lot of. I know.
Let me get my rings. I'm still listening to you. But let me get my rings in response to that.
Okay.
All right, continue.
Let's see them. Get your John Cena rings. Okay. So, and I think that's kind of the thing. Like, you know, that's a rehashed gimmick. You know. Oh, look at the tourists getting in the river. Anyway, won't catch COVID in there. You might catch something else. Yeah, I mean, Sasha's just kind of been this gimmick we've seen. I mean, maybe we haven't seen it in the women's. I mean, since, you know, the women's division has been something new as far as WWE is concerned. But it's just been like a mishmash of stuff.
Yeah.
And then you have Bianca Belair that now I think this is finally something that they have that's original. You know, she has put together a package that's different than what they've already applied. You know, so yeah, I think she can be what they hoped some of these others were. So
yeah, and I think also to sort of build upon that, I think because she is a homegrown talent and is probably so much more, or in that sense, that much more loyal to the WWE, they're more willing to invest in her, maybe just a little bit more here and there than they would a lot of the other women's talent. Sasha Banks, of course, has had independent experience and has wrestled a lot of people prior to her time coming into WWE. Not only that, but she has ties to Snoop Dogg, who has also appeared on AEW. So she knows that she could go somewhere else and not lose a step, so to speak.
Yeah.
Because she's been other places before. So
you gotta look at the.
I don't know how much that has to do with it, but
you know, Bianca Belair and what's his name, Ford. You know.
Yeah, Montez Ford.
They're, you know, not that that's going to keep somebody there, of course, as we see Andrade leaving and Charlotte's still there. Of course, they're not. Are they married? They're not married. They're engaged. But
they're not married yet.
There's that. I would feel there's that tension when you have someone that's working for your opposition, so to speak. So, yeah.
I mean, we see it with Mito and Lana.
Mm-hmm.
So hard to say. All right, so that's night 1 of WrestleMania. Let's move on to night 2. So the first match let's talk about is let's go with the match that I'm the least excited about.
Okay.
Riddle versus Sheamus.
I'm gonna say
For the
Sheamus.
United States Championship, let me be clear. For the US strap. Riddle's probably gonna retain, and I don't know, just not really that hyped about that match.
No.
Ryan Reynolds?
No, not Ryan Reynolds. Matt Riddle. I'm not a Riddle fan, so I'm hoping Sheamus wins, just for that fact alone.
Like Sheamus.
Yeah,
I also like Sheamus. And I think they're probably going to give it to Riddle because they seem to be really, really high on him. I get it, because every promo he makes, he acts like he's stoned or he's legit stoned. I'm really not sure. I imagine that part of it's an act, because technically they can't allow him to be stoned when they have docked other people for it, but
they can do what they want, right?
they sure can. All right, next match. Let's just get that out of the way. So next match, let's talk about The Fiend with Alexa Bliss versus Randy Orton.
You know, I haven't kept up with this too much since they set The Fiend on fire, but I'm assuming he come back under the current appearance, all burned up.
Yep, like he sure did.
I don't know where this is going, or what have you, but I mean, it would have to be like The Fiend win at this stage, I would think. You know,
we all hope. We all hope.
I don't see how you don't have The Fiend win at this stage.
I mean, the Fiend, Bray Wyatt owes Randy Orton a beating because Randy Orton beat him at the WrestleManias before and took his title, and also burned down the Wyatt compound. And it's implied that he killed Sister Abigail because he burned the place down. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So who knows? Not I. I can only hope that it's not another Randy Orton win.
Win. What does that mean for everything here on out? Like, I mean, if this would kill The Fiend, essentially. You know, in my opinion, like you're slowly looking like you're slowly killing him. Especially this new appearance does not do any favors, in my opinion, to anything.
Yeah, no, I agree. But both of us are big fans of Wyatt. Both of us have been disappointed consistently over how he's been treated. So, it's definitely a sort of another case of being cautiously optimistic for whatever's going to happen.
A bit of creative control now. There's been quite a bit of success from his, this has been all him, really. There's been a lot of success for it. So they're giving him a little bit of creative freedom. So I feel like this is just part of his storyline moving forward. But that doesn't mean things won't change. I mean, we saw he lost to Goldberg. That wasn't supposed to be in the books until Goldberg talked Vince into it. So, yeah, I mean, hopefully Fiend wins, but we have seen things happen before.
Yeah, we should have. Oh, all right. So the next match I want to talk about is Big E versus Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental Championship.
Call me a purist, but the two matches that I'm most excited for, without having seen any build and just knowing very little of what's been going on with WWE in the past couple months, but seeing this card, the two matches I'm excited for, Rollins versus Cesaro and Big E versus Apollo. I think this has the potential to be a candidate for match of the night at least.
Absolutely.
Cruz is, I think he's a great athlete. I think he knows what he's doing out there. Big E's amazing, and I'm hoping, I haven't seen it, but I'm hoping this new African royalty gimmick. Apollo has found his flagship with WWE in this that he's been looking for so long.
Yeah, I hope so too. It's notable that I believe he referenced his former name, another name that he's used to be known by in the Indies, Uha, right?
Uh-huh.
Uha Nation was his name back when he was in Dragon Gate. So hopefully that bodes a little bit on the positive side. Hopefully that means that there are bigger things that are going to be coming his way. I love Big E. I love Apollo Crews. But like I've been saying for years, and you can attest to this, any man that can do a gorilla press into a standing moonsault without missing a step deserves our respect. And he's gone so long without getting that respect or getting that spotlight that I really hope, even though he's a heel right now, I hope that this is his time. I really do. I would love to see him get some gold. I know he's been U.S. champion before, but it'd be great to see. Sorry?
Have you seen the build for all of this? The heel turn and
sort of. Hold on.
You should keep that in.
I already paused it. But, I've seen some of the builds of this matchup going in. Big E definitely kind of starting to shed his more comic relief kind of deal. His more fun-loving gimmick has kind of started to take a back seat towards him treating Apollo Crews as a serious opponent. And I believe in the last match they had, which was at Fastlane, they had another match for the title, which the ending was kind of ambiguous, which is why I believe they're doing this at WrestleMania as well, is because not Apollo Crews, but Big E, while he was fighting Apollo Crews, he started to get a little bit more aggressive, a little bit meaner, and he kept saying the whole time, like, you asked for this match. You asked for this beating. You wanted this. And I loved it because, for so long, Big E was considered just to be funny.
Yeah.
So getting to see him go a little bit back to who he was before New Day, the 3 ain't enough, man, I need 5, that really serious competitor that you see, like he is the chalk that he stands in now, that whole callback to who he used to be prior to New Day, I really like, because I've always liked Big E, and I was happy when he joined New Day because it meant that he was getting more attention, but he's always had what it takes, honestly. Even when he was doing the Enforcer stuff for Dolph Ziggler and AJ Lee, his whole 3 ain't enough, man, I need 5, the whole thing that he had with Caitlyn, I liked all of that. I really did. And he's very likable as far as being a face. And of course, going into this match,
I don't see why you can't have Big E being a serious and comical face. I mean, hell, we got Dusty Rhodes for generations, right? I don't see why we can't have that with the Big E.
True.
Works.
True. I agree with you on that. And Dusty Rhodes is a great example. It's unfortunate that I think people get too caught up in one or the other as far as fans watching. Wrestlers have shown many a time they can be serious, they can be goofy, they can be heels, they can be faces, all that. A lot of these performers that we were talking about on this card are incredibly talented, and we've booed for them as heels and cheered them on as faces. But I think in this sort of day and age, people don't like that multifacet as much, you know, and that's my lead in to talking about the next match that I want to talk about, which is Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn in a singles match. You know, these are two guys that we've talked about a lot. These are, especially Kevin Owens, we've talked about how talented he is as a heel and as a face. And we've seen him working face for quite some time now.
Have we had this match at a WrestleMania before?
No.
So this
not
is
a singles match. They've wrestled at WrestleMania before, but with each other, but they were both on the same side in the tag match.
So this is kind of their big moment, you know, these two guys.
Yeah. And they've treated it as such, even though it's sort of on a mini scale because everyone else cares about the other matches. But I'm really excited for this. These are two guys that just can't have a bad match with one another. They know each other so well. They know how to work with one another. And now it's a very interesting dynamic because their roles are reversed. For so long, it was Kevin Owens wrestling the heel match and Sami Zayn wrestling the face match. And now it's switched. And I am very excited to see that dynamic shift, honestly.
It's almost... Kevin Owens reminds me of... We got...
Yeah, there's some interesting noises I had to crack up.
I don't know what's going on. He reminds me of Piper because even as a face, he can get by with doing all these dastardly things just because that's his character. You know, it's like an Eddie Guerrero, Roddy Piper, that type of character, gimmick, style, and everything. So, I mean, it's not beyond thinking that Kevin Owens can get down and dirty with Sami Zayn if need be. And I expect it will happen. You know, this is going to be the big WrestleMania match. This is just, I think this will be the show stealer.
Absolutely. As you know, I love both of these guys. I was really excited when Kevin Owens on a SmackDown, he agreed to go on Sami Zayn's show, and he had Sami Zayn on his show, the Kevin Owens show, and he said, "All right, first off the bat, you, me, WrestleMania, yes or no?" And I was just like, "Oh my God, let's do it, please, everyone around the world, yes with me, yes."
And it's going to come eventually. We'll have the Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens documentary, and how different. Sami still has the long curly hair, I assume. His crazy hair. How different it's going to be, like seeing them from their start in NXT, till this point in the careers.
Yes. And I would like to add in that my theory is that they will both be on the same side at the conclusion of this match.
That would be amazing.
But I can't tell if Sami will turn Kevin heel or if Kevin will turn Sami face. I don't know which one it's going to be.
I feel like you almost have to have Sami turn face. Even if it's just
I feel like they're just more leaning towards that. But
yeah,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
He turns face for the night, and then like the next show, they're both out there, and whoever comes out, they turn heel on that guy. You could get both, easily. If once they're friends and united, it's very easy that they can just turn heel immediately on somebody, and that's going to be a beautiful thing, really. As long as they're.
You were right about that.
Oh yeah. Okay.
All right. So the next match we're going to talk about is Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. And before we get too far into that, I don't think either of us said who we think is going to win versus who we think is going to lose. So, Kevin versus Sami.
I think Sami wins. Clean.
You think Sami wins? I think I'm the opposite. I think Kevin wins clean.
You think Kevin wins clean and then Sami hugs him at the end and everything's squashed?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I think whatever happens, that's how it's got to be. Like whoever wins clean and the other one basically congratulates them, hugs them at the end of the match, and they're crying. And they start making out.
And jumps onto their side, whichever side it may be. Yeah, because I'm convinced that they're walking out of WrestleMania on the same side.
Yeah. Okay, go back.
I'm totally convinced of it. All right. So, Asuka versus Rhea Ripley for the Raw Women's Championship. And boy, I am sad to say this. I think Rhea Ripley wins, and then I'm going to be heartbroken because it's yet another WrestleMania that Asuka loses at.
Did Asuka get her tooth fixed?
I don't know if she got it fixed, but she has been cleared. So she at least is presumably able to compete. I don't know if she got it filled in or not.
Yeah, I think he kicked it out.
I assume she has to.
Get one put in. And follow-up question: did Britt Baker fix it?
On the down low, Adam Cole got Asuka a real good deal.
I would like to say that Asuka retains because this match is kind of a replacement for what we were supposed to get with Asuka versus Charlotte, which I don't know how that would have gone, but they owed Asuka one. You know, they owe Asuka. They really do.
I feel like they owe both these women, honestly.
Yeah,
they owe Rhea Ripley because she kind of got geeked out at WrestleMania last year, and it was unfortunate because it wasn't. You know, it didn't look like as. She looked good. She didn't look great in defeat. You know what I mean? They could have made her look better in defeat than they did, especially if they're going to have her lose.
Yeah. So I don't know. I mean, there are ways to do it where both come out on top. But this is WWE we're talking about. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna have to side with you on this one. I think Rhea Ripley takes it.
I'm not happy about it. Let me just be very clear. And it's not a dislike to Rhea Ripley. I like her. I like her a lot. I just feel like, man, it's another time where it's gonna come at the expense of Asuka.
Yeah, this is not a WrestleMania match. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't think it was meant to be this. I think, like how you said, it was meant to be Asuka versus Charlotte, and then Asuka getting the win back from when Charlotte made her tap out years before.
Right.
So, you know, it would be cool for Asuka to win, but for her to beat Rhea Ripley so quickly after Rhea Ripley comes up would just kill her. Like, it would just totally take all the wind out of her sails, honestly. Unless Asuka goes heel and wins dirty. That's the only thing I can imagine would kind of save that.
Yeah.
That's
I don't. It's a no-win situation.
Yeah, it's a rough time either way because both these women are due good, big WrestleMania moments, and only one of them can actually get it.
Yeah.
All right, and then the final match, it is the triple threat match for the WWE Universal Championship. We got the champion, Roman Reigns, defending against the 2021 Royal Rumble winner, Edge, and Daniel Bryan.
Oh, God. Let me just say that they have successfully not built a real main event for WrestleMania this year.
Yeah, I don't. Okay, so you want to know my crazy theory going into this?
Okay.
I think that Daniel Bryan was in the book supposed to beat Roman Reigns at Fastlane to prevent Reigns from going to Mania because Reigns, and I remember this from somewhere, and I could be totally wrong. It could be that I'm just fucking insane, but I remember part of the stipulation of Reigns coming back after everything shut down was no audience.
Oh.
And that was the whole reason why he came back in the middle of the pandemic, because they had said, we're going to do Thunderdome. Don't worry. All the shows that you're going to be performing at, you're not going to have audience, so it's going to be a lot more controlled. It's going to be a lot less risk of spreading coronavirus because of his prior medical conditions.
Right.
So I was convinced. I was for real convinced that them adding in that thing with Daniel Bryan was a way to take Roman Reigns out of WrestleMania in a, relatively decent way. Losing to Daniel Bryan isn't something to be ashamed of. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I thought that would be cool. And then you still get a cool match at WrestleMania with Edge versus Daniel Bryan. And it's not going to be the passing of the torch match that you wanted, of course, with spear versus spear with Reigns and Edge, but you'll still get a good main event worthy match. And then it didn't happen like that at Fastlane, right? Fastlane had Edge steel chairing both of them after Daniel Bryan accidentally hits him, and then they get steel chaired notably while Roman Reigns is tapping out, but there's no ref to call it because the ref got knocked out too. Like the whole clusterfuck that main event of Fastlane, which wasn't a bad match, but then it just convoluted this, and it just baffled me.
The headlines were Edge turns heel at Backlash. And I'm just like, can't see it happening just because he attacked them both with the chair. The storyline wise, I don't see that as him turning heel. Is that what happened?
I don't think so either.
No.
I am hesitant to say heel per se. I know you don't like the term tweener, but I feel like that's where they've solidly put Edge in this. It's really he's in the middle. There's the three men, right? You don't have two heels and a face or two faces and a heel. You've got the heel in Roman Reigns. You've got the face in Daniel Bryan, and you've got Edge in the middle. Because Edge isn't as bad as Roman Reigns, but he isn't as good as Daniel Bryan. Right. So, like, you kind of have him being in the middle, and either way.
Possibly. And a turn doesn't necessarily mean that they will turn. When you're in between, like you're thinking about becoming a bad guy because you're going to do bad guy shit like Edge may be doing, doesn't mean he will turn. I mean, you could have this match and say Daniel Bryan comes out the winner and Edge congratulates him and, hey, I'm still face. So, I mean, he can be a tweener face, looking to turn heel, or a tweener heel looking to turn face, and still, either one doesn't happen or it does happen or whatever. I
don't think we're going to know that specific alignment until 10 minutes into this match, honestly. Because I think something big is going to happen in this match, but I don't know in what direction. And I like that I can't tell what's going to happen, because with Reigns versus Edge, I kind of, you can kind of figure out, Edge is going to lose to Reigns, and this is going to be Edge's sort of like last hurrah, not a title run per se, but his sort of giving up that spear to Roman Reigns, so to speak. It was very clear to me, similar to how Okan beat Tenzan for the Mongolian chops, so now Okan's the only one that can do the Mongolian chops. Tenzan's no longer allowed. That sort of deal. And that was clear going into WrestleMania before Daniel Bryan was going in, but now that Daniel Bryan is added, it's definitely very much is Daniel Bryan in to take off the lack of a better word, to take off the pressure from Roman Reigns as far as and I need to grab different headphones because my headphones just died, but is this a way to have somebody else take the title off of Reigns if Reigns chooses to not continue to perform after WrestleMania, especially because now he's sort of
for lack of a better word, required to be at WrestleMania, which may have not been his first choice considering his medical conditions prior. So is this a way to have Reigns lose the title without being the one to get pinned?
If the idea is taking the belt off Reigns for a good while, then probably so. I feel like they probably talked Roman into this. He probably felt obligated to do this.
Yeah, I agree.
It was probably because, I mean, let's be honest, this is the worst planned WrestleMania in all history so far, which says a lot. Apparently, like, this was not solidified as a show until like a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I believe that. Because you can kind of see they've made huge sprints in the card between the end of Royal Rumble, or not even between the end of Royal Rumble, but between the end of Fastlane and now.
Yeah.
You know?
I think not getting Brock to come in for the Lashley match, I think that was going to be the main event of the entire program. You know, that would close out the show. Not getting Brock meant they brought McIntyre in. And I think that also meant they changed Backlash. You know, knowing Brock's not gonna, now instead of having Edge versus Bryan night one, now we got to talk Roman into it, or we're going to put a triple threat, take some heat off of Roman, you know, more the workhorse Daniel Bryan in the match.
Yeah.
To carry Roman and Edge, really. You know, because, I mean, let's face it, you know, Edge has been out there. They did the cinematic match. They've done different things with Edge. But even the Royal Rumble, Edge sat in the corner for, like, you know, 80% of the match.
Yeah, and I hate admitting that because I do love Edge, and I have very fond memories of growing up and watching him get hyped for that spear and, like, just being the rated R superstar. I remember it very well from when I was growing up watching. But he's just not, like, and rightfully so. He grew up, he had a family, he focused on other things because he was told that he had this career-ending injury and he took it seriously, God bless him, and chose not to put himself further at risk. And I can't blame him for that, and I don't think anyone should, but because of that, unfortunately, he's lost a step. Yeah. And it's not anything to be ashamed of, but it's just a fact.
I mean, it's the same way with Roman. I think, you know, he can put out so much, but if this is going to be the big ending of the show of the year, really, with the crowd, then you kind of have to, you know, take a step back. You kind of have to plan this out a little bit more neater and let somebody else carry the load. So I don't know. Is this the big question? Is are they going to strap Edge? You know, is this going to be how they do it? Will they strap Edge? This is going to be his big moment since when he retired. That was his big moment. He retained at WrestleMania as champion, and he never lost it.
Yeah.
It would be a good story. You know, it would be a great story. But it would be a great story for Daniel Bryan, too. You know, yes, he won it already after he's come back as a heel. But this would be, also a good story that he overcomes everything after his big comeback.
Yeah.
As would for Reigns. You know, he retains at WrestleMania after defeating leukemia. I mean, all three of these have a great story to them when you look back in a big documentary like WWE likes to do for these guys. So I think it could go either way. I think if the idea was just for Roman to carry it till WrestleMania and take time off again, but his gimmick, his storyline as a heel this time around has been tremendous.
Yeah. And I'm glad that it's brought up Jey Uso with him. As you know, I love the Usos. I've always loved them. And so getting to see him finally bringing up the rest of his family, and his whole focus is that he's the head of the table. He's a leader of his family. And as such, he's going to take care of them, but they're also going to help take care of him. Like, I love that stuff. And I don't know if it's because it's very Polynesian in mindset where you take care of your own, you look after your people, and your people look after you. But I think it's been used to
up, not
great effect. Yeah.
But The Rock, there was the idea early on have Roman versus The Rock at WrestleMania. All of that changed. Of course, The Rock's super busy. So I don't know. Maybe they're just planning, hey, next year, everything settles down. We get Brock back. Brock versus Lashley, build toward that. Roman versus Rock, build toward that. Maybe Vince is hoping, that this is the direction they can go next year and just write this year off. But I mean, even in that regard, do you fix it in a way that this is the feud that's going to carry the first half of the year? Is it going to be Roman versus Edge the first half of the year? Roman versus Bryan? Do you have Jey Uso get involved and accidentally cost Roman the match? And that's going to build up, Roman versus Jey for the first half of the year. These are things that I think have to be looked at, and I'm sure they have looked at them. All of them. You could do 2 or 3 of those things together. In my opinion, the smartest thing would be, Edge versus Bryan as the feud going in the next, 3-6 months, and Roman and Jey, and playing out the big family feud and whatnot.
Yeah.
Until you can Rock to come in to do a one-off and be like, hey, or showing up and stopping Roman from beating Jey. Or something like that,
or even once Jimmy's actually cleared to come back, maybe having the Usos finally come together, Jimmy being the one to kind of talk Jey out of always bending the knee, so to speak. Like, there's a lot they could do, and I hope that it comes into fruition, because I feel like, especially with Roman Reigns, this is some of the best character stuff that he's been given in a long time, and the best character stuff that he's also been putting out.
I mean, he, for all the crap we've given him, or at least I have, there's nothing against him, but just what WWE's given him to work with, and they pigeonholed him into this character they wanted him to play that he really just couldn't, and I know he's taken acting classes. He's gotten tremendous shape so that he could change his look a little bit. But I feel like he has finally come into his own after how many years on top. And not many people get that chance.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's a lot they can do going forward. There's a lot of family they can work with going forward. I mean, they can easily bring in a lot of the family for one-offs, and they'll do it. There's that work. They'll do it. So everybody except Jacob Watson, because he's over in MLW.
And the distant relations of Haku and everyone that are kind of hanayed into that family.
You never know what's going to happen there. I mean, they have to have their eyes on God. Have to.
Guaranteed.
We know they've been after Fale for a while, and he doesn't want to.
Not to say too much, because the whole what happens on Tama's Island stays on Tama's Island. But Tama has mentioned before that at least a couple years back, and I think he tries to distance it so that we're not getting current information. But at least a couple years back, they were looking at God pretty seriously, both Tama Tonga and Tangaloa, and trying to figure out how to work them together, because of course Tangaloa used to be in WWE's Camacho, right? So looking at the different things that they could do there.
Right. Just don't bring him back as Camacho. Don't bring him back as Camacho. Don't give us the
things that can happen.
That's from Mexico. Come on. I would be so pissed at that. But
same. Yeah. Anyway, that's our WrestleMania breakdown. So you say, wait, so who's your final call? Who do you think's gonna win? Universal Strap, night 2. If you had to pick right now, who do you think's gonna be?
Roman retains.
Roman retains. I say Daniel Bryan.
Think Daniel Bryan? I would say Roman.
I think Daniel Bryan would be a good long-term sort of choice.
Long-term in WWE?
you know, for as long term as they can commit to.
That's true. Boy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the guess.
We've kind of agreed on most things here, I think.
Yeah, you know, I think there's some things that we sort of diverged. Of course, notably you thinking that
Loses.
what's that?
That New Day loses.
Yeah, New Day loses, and you know you think Sammy's gonna win. And this comes from somebody that loves Sammy, as you know.
You know,
paid $100 like something dollars to get that meet and greet with him.
Absolutely adorable.
Yeah, he added time. That was like the best. I was like, he's like, I'm gonna add a few more seconds here, and I was just like,
what is this? I haven't watched this one. I was like, what have you bought?
Yep.
Really adorable.
Yep.
Yeah, that was really cute. Yeah, I mean, I would be happy with either of those guys, you know, coming out the victor of that match. I think it's just the ending of the match. They both have to come out together. That needs to happen.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and almost wins. I think Roman wins. What else did we disagree on?
I think we agreed on pretty much everything else.
I think everything else was, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe Braun and Shane. That's since Shane's going to win.
Oh, yeah, I think Braun's going to win. I don't think Shane's going to win.
The cage.
Yeah, that's right. You're finished for that. Yeah. So I suppose we'll see. WrestleMania is not this weekend, but the weekend after, April 10th and 11th. So if either of us changes our mind after watching SmackDown or Raw or SmackDown again or NXT Stand and Deliver, then we'll revise. We'll make another video if Sam Keola, the Wrestling Connoisseur, doesn't oversleep.
I am a member of Chaos by default. That is my life, as you can tell by these.
Okay, fair. Except Manabu Nakanishi, I don't think was in any stable at the time of his retirement, which is your Monster Morning shirt. So,
well, I'm taking his name and I'm joining Chaos. So, that's
fair enough. All right, so this is wrapping up our WrestleMania predictions video. This is Loose Cannon and Sam Keola, the Wrestling Connoisseur, wherever he is on the side of me once this video pops out. Signing off. Hopefully we're not too totally wrong.
Yeah, I don't think we will be.
Yeah, we've kind of gotten pretty good at guessing these sorts of things at this point.
A little predictable, but
I mean, if my mom called that Miz was cashing in when he cashed in, so
Tell your mom hi.
Yeah, this is us signing off. Bang, ba bang.